Spano. Mr. Palma.
Here.
Mr. Petrosino.
Here.
Mr. Rappaport.
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman.
Here.
Mr. Daughtry.
Here.
Dr. Modrak.
Here.
Mr. Bruckheiser.
Here.
Ms. Patel.
Here.
America, to the republic, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, and the Montville tapped into the board's official newspapers on February 7, 2025.
High school report. Hello everyone. I hope everyone's night has been going well. So as normal, we're going to start off with the past for the school, and we're going to start off with the sports. So the varsity boys basketball team has a record of 18-5. They have 2 more regular season games left to play before they go to states. The varsity girls basketball team now has a record of 9-14 with 1 game left to go for their season. The varsity wrestling team has a final record of 20-6. And lastly, the boys swim team went 5-8 throughout the season, while the girls swim team went 1-12. On to the school-related subjects. The Make-A-Wish Club hosted a fundraiser night at Columbia Inn on Wednesday, February 12th from 5 to 8 p.m. All of the proceeds from this night went to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. For all the seniors, the local scholarships have been uploaded to Schoology for them to take a look at and start filling out. The class of 2027 has held a fundraiser for candygrams for Valentine's Day. Students got to choose and send friends the little bags of candy with a note, and also could remain anonymous. Now we're going to move on to President.
So recently, Montville Forensics attended the Liberty Bell Classic at the University of Pennsylvania. There were many winners in both speech and debate. In duo interpretation, Manya Madden and Avika Joshi won first place. In novice Lincoln Douglas debate, Rishab Banchal made it to the quarterfinals. Sophia Escobar made it to the quarterfinals in 00. Vivian Way made it to the semifinals for humorous interpretation. For novice public forum, Tyler Zhang and Vedant Arora made it to double octafinals. And for varsity public forum, Amy Zhang, Jenny Wang, Siddharth Srinivas, and Rehana Shamsuddin also made it to double octafinals. The team is currently competing in a tournament at Harvard University. For the future, on March 7th, MTHS will be hosting a college fair, which will be an exciting opportunity for students to explore opportunities for their future. That's all we have for today. Thank you.
What about Big Fish? Come on, give us a musical.
What's that?
You got a musical coming up. Come on. Plug it.
We don't have that in the thing. I believe I said it last time. I don't really remember what the dates were for that one.
Okay, so March 6th to 9th. Yeah, 6th to 9th, MTHS Theater Company will perform its production of Big Fish. Okay, tickets are, I believe they're 15.
I think it was
15 for adults and 12 for seniors and students. 18 and 15 at the door. And the reason I mentioned this is because last week I went to the township community meeting, and I encouraged the town to come to it because, again, all the productions at the high school are fantastic. I encourage people to come to them. They really are very good and excellent quality. I encourage people to come. Thanks. Okay.
Yes, so we're going to go right into the presentations. We have a lot of special guests here, so I'm going to ask William Mason to come on up here, the chorus. Mr. Holt, if you want to talk to us, there's a mic right there if you want to grab and just introduce what you're doing here.
and thank you for having us this evening. My name is Brandon Frimmel. I am proud to teach orchestra, chorus, and general music at William Mason Elementary School. Select students and I have prepared a song in honor of Black History Month for you this evening. I talked to my students about the importance of some of the music in our lives and asked if one of them would write an introduction. So I would like to introduce Sion to read our introduction for today.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sion Tikwani, and today I want to share the importance of an amazing song called We Shall Overcome. This song is not just a melody, it holds a message of hope and unity which is very important for our students to learn. We Shall Overcome got popular during the Civil Rights Movement when African Americans were fighting for equal rights and equality as a whole. They sang this song to show they believed in a better future even when things were really tough. It became a way for people to work together and support each other. The lyrics We Shall Overcome show us that we can solve any challenges if we stick together and work as a team. This song reminds us that we should always stand up for what is right and help others in need. Just like in our school, when we see someone being treated unfairly, we can be an upstander and speak up. As me and my fellow peers perform this song, I hope you feel inspired to be the best version of yourself and try to get through any obstacles you may face. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that production right there. And it just shows you the quality that we have here at the elementary level. And then we were just talking about Big Fish, with the productions they do at the high school level. This is what leads up to. This is what provides the foundation for our students. And they do wonderful productions. For people that just came for that show, you're allowed to leave. You don't stay. We appreciate it. We love your support, though.
Does it look like all the time like this way everybody leaves?
Good evening. I'm thrilled to be here once again to present our ShopRite stars for the second marking period of the 2024-2025 school year. Tonight's stars were nominated by faculty members in 5 different categories, and the winners were selected by the administrative committee. In addition to the recognition of these wonderful students, Sunrise ShopRite generously donates $1,000 to the class of 2025. Please join me in congratulating each of our stars this evening. In the field of academics, congratulations to Julia Gesbrowski. Julia was described by staff as a curious learner, someone who truly values gathering information in order to gain a better understanding of the world around her. As Julia gained more knowledge, she grew more confident and looked forward to the challenges of advanced level courses in particular. For example, Julia took 3 honors level classes during her 9th and 10th grade school year, then 3 AP classes in 11th grade. By her senior year this year, Julia was taking a fully rigorous course load of 4 AP classes, in addition to an advanced French class, an American Sign Language, which is only offered for the first time this year. It is exceedingly rare for a student to take courses in 2 different languages over the course of their entire high school career, let alone a single year. But this exemplifies Julia's passion for and dedication to learning. In her classes, Julia asks questions often and spends a lot of time attending extra help sessions, occasionally just to enjoy the additional dialogue with her teacher about a topic of interest. Julia also serves regularly as a resource for her classmates and takes time to ensure that those around her have the same level of comprehension that she does. Julia has proudly maintained a 4.2 plus GPA, is the recipient of a prestigious AP Scholar Award, and was inducted into the French Honor Society. Julia is also a very talented artist. Her painting titled Self-Portrait in Sunlight was exhibited in the Fresh Perspective installation at the Morris Museum only recently. In the fall, Julia will attend TCNJ and major in biology. Again, congratulations. In the field of athletics, congratulations to Mina Yunus. Mina is one of the captains on our girls volleyball team, and a key reason that the team has enjoyed so much success over the course of the past 4 years. For example, the team won the state sectional championship during Mina's sophomore and junior years. They were the Morris County tournament winners during her sophomore and senior years, and earned a conference title in her sophomore year. Individually, Mina has demonstrated tremendous growth, as evidenced by the fact that she earned second team All-NJAC All-Conference last year, and was first team All-Conference this year. Mina's personal career stats include 103 kills, 63 blocks, 443 digs, 915 assists, and 100 aces. Additionally, NJ Power Rankings identified Mina as first team All-State, and because of her 446 assists in Group 2 play, NJAC identified her as the 10th best setter in the entire state. As impressive as these statistics are, Mina is even more respected by peers and staff because of her kindness, leadership ability, and dedication to academics. Specifically, factoring in all first semester grades, Mina has maintained a 4.3 plus GPA, scored above a 3 on 3 AP exams last year, and was an AP Scholar Award winner in 2024. In the fall, Mina will attend the Physician Assistant Program at Seton Hall University. Again, congratulations. In the field of the arts, congratulations to Jules Zaya Joya. Because of an unmatched dedication and passion for music and the arts, Jules joined as many musical ensembles as time would allow, including the marching band, symphonic band, chamber choir, flute choir, percussion ensemble, and many smaller groups among friends. In several of these groups, Jules was assigned to leadership roles such as woodwind captain or secretary of the Tri-N Music Honor Society. At the end of her sophomore year, Jules auditioned for a prestigious program called the Cali Pathways Project. It is based at Montclair State University, which is available for students who aspire to go into musical studies. After being accepted, Jules took and still takes weekly flute lessons at Montclair, and this past spring performed in a concert at the Leschowitz Recital Hall as a soloist. Along with auditioning for this, Jules was awarded the Underclassmen Awards for English Language Arts and Performing Arts in sophomore year, and received both of those awards again in junior year, in addition to a Foreign Language Award, and also an award for participation in the Muse, where she serves currently as the editor. Despite the time constraints and commitments dedicated to music and the Muse, Jules has been able to maintain a 4.2 plus GPA throughout her high school career and challenged herself with an increasingly rigorous coursework, culminating in 3 AP classes this year. Jules is still applying to colleges and recently auditioned to attend Montclair State University to pursue a major in career music education. I know that your audition was recently. How'd you do? Again, congratulations. In the field of community service, congratulations to Laurel Donahue. Laurel is a dedicated, selfish, and compassionate leader who has made a significant impact on our community through her extensive involvement in a number of service initiatives. Much of Laurel's community service experience stems from her passionate involvement with her local church, St. Pius. She is described as the heart and soul of the youth ministry, serving as an office assistant, teacher, and also member of the youth leadership team. Laurel organizes community service events at St. Pius, including spending 1 week each summer in Appalachia serving those in need by helping to repair their homes, and also creating a giving tree to help sort gifts to children in foster care during the holiday season. In addition to her community service, Laurel is also a member of the Key Club and the field hockey team, and also keeps stats for the basketball team. Impressively, Laurel is able to manage all of this while also working 2 part-time jobs and maintaining a rigorous schedule, including taking an AP course for the very first time in her high school career. Laurel's ability to balance her commitments while also making a positive impact on our community is a testament to her character and dedication. Laurel is still applying to colleges with plans to major in political science on a pre-law track. Again, congratulations. In the field of leadership, congratulations to Scipio Hahn. Scipio is one of the most brilliant and academically accomplished students that we've had at Montville over the course of the past decade. In addition to being an exceptionally talented student, however, Scipio is also a true leader in and out of the classroom. In extracurriculars, Scipio is a leader of the Science Olympiad and has overseen its recent resurgence. In addition to serving as a guide and role model and mentor to students in the club, for example, the club just earned 5th place. The team just earned 5th place in the region in the wind power event. Scipio also spends time tutoring peers as the treasurer of the National Honor Society and helps organize events for students as the treasurer of the Spanish Honor Society. Since freshman year, Scipio has also served in student government and is the treasurer of the class of 2025, helping to ensure that the various events that we have for seniors, including banquet and prom, are organized and affordable. Another way that Scipio has been able to demonstrate his leadership skills is through TAB and also the Lunar New Year celebration, which would not have run as efficiently without him. It should be noted that Scipio's leadership of our celebration of the Chinese New Year occurred without him even being a member of or a student of our Mandarin program. He simply enjoys teaching others about the importance of inclusivity of all backgrounds and celebrating diverse cultures. Lastly, Scipio was named the section leader for Violin 2 last year in chamber orchestra and occasionally conducts in-orchestra class. Scipio is still applying to many top colleges but plans to pursue a major in mathematics in the fall. Again, congratulations to Scipio and to all of our ShopRite Stars winners for the second time.
Look at me. Parents will have a second after me. Look at me. Okay, parents, you can take a picture. I got it already. Congratulations. This is an exciting case. Congratulations, girls. Congratulations.
Okay, good evening, Dr. Gorman, members of the Board of Education. Check 1, 2. Here we go. I have to turn some pages, so I'll just shuffle. Good evening, Dr. Gorman, members of the Board of Education. I'm in Vice Supervisor of Arts for Montville Township Public Schools. The New Jersey Department of Education identifies 5 subject areas of the arts. These are music, visual, theater, dance, and media arts. In 2021, the New Jersey Department of Education conducted a visual performing arts survey of every district. That survey asked, does your district have a comprehensive arts education plan? While our school district and board identify annual goals, there is no specific written plan for the performing arts. To address this, I formed a district arts education program evaluation committee. A second and equally important reason that I undertook this is that it is valuable from time to time to conduct an overview of our program to identify strengths, challenges, and recommendations. By the way, for purposes of the audience here, the full report has been provided to the board. This is essentially a slideshow which summarizes all that. So the purposes and goals I just mentioned, the committee broke this review down to 5 topics of investigation: review of our current program, analysis of program and district data, survey of parents and students, collecting and analyzing that survey, enrollment and demographic data, and finally, committee recommendations. For purposes of a quick overview of our current program description, at the elementary level, we have general music K through 5, band and orchestra starting grades 4 and 5, and we have plays at least at one of our elementary schools, and occasionally some other elementary schools do some plays in the springtime as well. At Lazar, we have curricular classes that meet every day of band, orchestra, and choir, as well as a grade 6 music exploration class, and a robust theater club that puts on a fall play and spring musical and Broadway nights. At MTHS, similarly, we have band, orchestra, choir, music theory, AP music theory, music technology, and also a very robust theater club that's in the process, as Dr. Modrak mentioned, of putting on our spring musical, fall play, and other nights as well. The first thing we did was we dug into data available to us in Genesis. The committee looked at a 7-year lookup from 1819 to the current school year. In electives such as the arts, it's vitally important to track how we're doing. We wanted to account for the variable of COVID, so we looked at pre-COVID years, COVID years, and post-COVID years. We were happy to see that enrollment in grades 4 and 5 band orchestras increased from 57% in 1819 is up to almost 70% this school year. Enrollment in middle school in all music courses has increased from 40% in 1819 to 53% in the 24-25 school year. And these are percentages of the total student body. So for example, at Lazar, over half the students at Lazar are involved in our performing arts program. Enrollment at the high school increased from about 19% in 1819 to 21% in the 24-25 school year. We then wanted to look into see who's in our program. The committee then sought to dig into the enrollment numbers further and ask the question, are we reaching all of our students? The data in Genesis was studied to determine what percentage of students in the performing arts belong to various demographic groups, such as special education, free and reduced lunch, Hispanic, African American, and Asian students. And that's all in the full report, but I'm going to try to summarize a lot of that data, which is a lot, here right now. Some of our key takeaways are, we saw that about 12% of all special education students at MTHS and 27% of all special education students at Lazar participate in performing arts. 13% of all free and reduced lunch students at the high school and 42% of all free and reduced lunch students at Lazar participate in the performing arts. The complete report includes data for Hispanic, African American, and Asian students as well. We also dug into a little bit of MLLs, or what we used to call ESL students, but a lot of that data was tough to find, actually. Some of it is because the designations have changed over the years, so we need to do a little more investigation into that. Ultimately, I would say that the data supported evidence that there's a diverse group of students in the performing arts program. There are a number of variables that could affect percentage of students in these groups participating. Therefore, the committee shares the data it has and recommends that this might require some further investigation. So after we looked at all that data, which is included in the full report, we then felt it was very, very important to survey parents and students. Obtaining parent and student input is vital to the validity of any program evaluation. A survey was put out to parents and students. Questions were asked about attitudes and beliefs, quality of instruction, course offerings, and facilities. Again, the complete report is on pages 16 to 22 of the full survey. Also, there's a full appendix, the full report. There's an appendix of both a complete parent survey and a complete student survey. But for purposes of the presentation tonight, I'm going to summarize this quickly. Happily, we saw that we asked parents about how they felt about their child's participation in performing arts, a lot of which we saw tonight. 80 to 90% of elementary, middle school, and high school parents felt that their child's participation in performing arts improves their general well-being. 60 to 70% felt that participation in performing arts improves their child's performance in other academic classes. Are we being culturally inclusive? 40 to 50% of all respondents, parents at the elementary, middle school, and high school level felt that MTPS performing arts strives to be culturally inclusive. We then asked about theater and dance. While these are part of our co-curriculum, we don't have curricular classes in these. 51% of high school and 56% of middle school respondents voiced interest in a curricular theater class. 40% voiced interest in a curricular dance class. Finally, we asked about facilities. Numerous open-ended responses voiced a desire for improved performance spaces at Lazar and the high school. Those were from the parents. And we wanted to see what the students thought. Oftentimes in our administrative and teacher conversations, we all talk about, well, obviously what's best for our students, but we want to hear directly from the students, and what we found was interesting. Similar to parents, students felt that the participation in performing arts improves their general well-being and academic performance. 42% of all our grade 6 through 12 students stated that participation in performing arts is very important in their lives. 55% felt it was at least somewhat important in their lives. We asked them to agree with the statement or disagree. Montville School's performing arts strives to include all cultures. 40% of our students agree with the statement, 42 strongly agreed. 37% of Lazar High School students expressed interest in a curricular theater class. 25 expressed interest in a curricular dance class, and 16% expressed interest in a co-curricular dance club. And also, students as well expressed numerous open-ended responses, which we'll read in the full report, a desire for improved performance space at Lazar in the high school. Like, for example, interestingly enough, a lot of students commented, all of our Lazar concerts are here at the high school, which we're happy to have occur on the nice big stage here at the high school. But a lot of students would ask these honest questions, like, why come we can't perform at our middle school? Why do we have to go to the high school? And of course we know why, because the theater's here. But it's just interesting that they voice some of these opinions. So after doing all this survey, we know that the proof's in the pudding. We've had a lot of success in our performing arts programs. This year we had one student admitted to high school region band. We had 8 high school students admitted to high school region choir. 4 of those students placed first or second in their respective voice part. It's not a competition like sports, but they get scored, and 4 of those students were like the top scorers in their respective voice parts. We had 12 Lazar vocal students admitted to intermediate region choir. As we all know, we have numerous successful plays in musicals that are well received by the community. and we've been named National Association for Music Merchandisers Best Community for Music Education 9 years in a row. So having looked at all that data, the committee then finally wanted to make some recommendations. The recommendations from the committee are that in terms of enrollment, to maintain or increase staffing at the elementary level due to increased class sizes. We looked at the middle school. Some sections of middle school music exceed 50 students per period. Exploring staff options or increasing staff to decrease class sizes is there. Another thing the committee recommended is at the middle school we have a full-time band, orchestra, and choir teacher. We have a second band teacher who rotates over from Cedar Hill to help out with lessons. We don't have that in band. We simply don't have that in orchestra, so it's a little bit of an equity there, and we would like to address that. Finally, to address the feedback we got from the parent-student survey as far as facilities go, explore ways to, if possible, expand Lazar Gym Stage. Numerous student survey responses regarding need for better performance in classroom space, and finally, a recommendation to renovate the MTH Stafford Theater. The last section of recommendations have to do with curricular. We looked at setting a target goal of 20 to 25% of the total student population in the high school. Survey responses did indicate interest for a dance or theater class in the curricular program. We explored the possibility of creating that. And lastly, in the parent survey, 80% of respondents felt that the cost of renting interest was not a barrier. However, that means 20% feels it could be a barrier. That's 2 out of 10 families, so we can explore ways to maybe address that with a inventory of school-owned instruments. So what does this all mean? The Performing Arts Program evaluations serve to study the current program and make recommendations for the future. In examining the enrollment data in the student parent surveys, glaring deficiencies did not become apparent, which is good. The survey indicated that the Performing Arts Program is in general moving in the right direction. But for historical perspective, it's important to note that during the 2012-13 school year, a report on district music goals was conducted. The goal of that report was to understand why there was a large decline at that time in participation in the music program at the high school level. To stem that decline, many recommendations have been implemented and new initiatives and programs have been instituted. However, the quality of any educational program can diminish without careful attention and advocacy. Therefore, the ultimate recommendation of the committee is to continue to be intentional in maintaining the quality of the program. This is accomplished by maintaining staffing levels and hiring the most qualified teachers, maintaining and improving classroom and performance facilities, access to adequate inventory of instruments, and continuing to remain vigilant regarding populations that may be underrepresented or underserved. This presentation I give tonight is in essence a summary of the full report. I urge all board members to read the full report and contact me with any questions. If Dr. will allow, we have a little time for questions now, but before we do, I also want to acknowledge members of our committee who are here tonight. Mr. Stephen Fitt, our general music and instrumental teacher at Hilldale, cannot be here. We have Mr. Ken Corlition, instrumental band teacher at Lazar. Jordan Green, choir teacher at Lazar. Thomas Sansone, instrumental music teacher at Cedar Hill and Lazar, and Ellis Jasanova, high school instrumental teacher. These gentlemen are very proud of the work we did. We've met many times over the course of our 2 years to compile this report. Are there any questions?
Figured you knew that was coming, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I could have listened to another half hour of this, so yeah, thank you for all you did. Thank you for everybody who worked on the committee as well. And I just, want to just have a couple of comments. I talked about increasing the staffing at both Lazar and at the middle school, both band and orchestra, and I just think it's absolutely essential to have at least 2 full-time band directors at Lazar, considering the size of that program and having, 94 kids in the 6th grade band at Lazar. And also whatever needs to be done to have small group instruction and orchestra at Lazar too, because I understand right now they're just kind of doing it on a voluntary basis. So I wholly agree with that. Talking about the facilities at Lazar with the auditorium. I don't know if I'm being a Debbie Downer here or not. I'd love to see a nice auditorium at Lazar as much as anybody, but I think you've got a bigger priority than the auditorium performance space, and that's the rehearsal space. I mean, I think, especially if we're going to put more money into an auditorium at the high school, which I think is in the referendum. I mean, right now, I'm not sure the size of the music rooms at Lazar is sufficient to house what we have. I'd like
I'd like to take that money for the auditorium and see it and just put a wrecking ball to the sides of those rooms and the side of those and just put those rooms out 20 feet so we could have, I mean, it would accomplish a couple things. We wouldn't have to split the classes up so much, and maybe there'd be some room for some pull-out instruction during class instead of having to have like 2 periods of 6th grade band and 3 periods of 7th and 8th, which to me is not an optimal thing. I mean, if Coach DeBonter was here right now for the football team, I'd like to ask him, Coach, how would you feel if we took a third of the kids practicing at 3 o'clock, a third at 4 o'clock, a third at 5 o'clock, then just throw it all together on Friday night? But, obviously there's restrictions to what we have here. And the last thing I want to say is as far as money spent, I think with the amount of kids we have, especially at the Czar, there needs to be a major initiative toward improving and bringing more instruments into the schools. I don't think what we have is quite adequate, especially I look at the balance. We have 91 kids in the 6th grade band, which is wonderful, but when 84 of them play either flute, B-flat, clarinet, alto saxophone, trumpet, or drums, it's not the balance you want. I'd like to see a lot more opportunities for kids to branch out with things like double reeds, French horns, low brass, and things like that. But I'm really so proud of the program we have going on right now. It's just absolutely insane to see a middle school that has over half the kids in band, chorus, or orchestra, or a combination thereof. And next year, getting a big class at Lazar. Hopefully, it's going to continue that way. So really, it's an embarrassment of riches. And like David was telling about the high school musical, I certainly intend to see it. I hope everyone else will too. They're always phenomenal. We have some just absolutely phenomenal programs here, and Lazar's being a great feeder into the high school. So again, thanks for doing what you did. I'm really interested to see how we go from here, and just keep up the good work, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Bahama.
I would like to echo a lot of that. Over the years I've been here in town and been on the board, I've been truly impressed by not just the performing arts, but the whole arts department that you've managed to put together. You've done a wonderful job there, and I appreciate the report. As far as getting some of these recommendations implemented, those are obviously discussions that the administration is going to have to take the lead on. But I would also encourage more kids to participate. Oh, and also, I just want to say, I know it's not part of the performing arts program, I don't think, but the movement class you have in Lazar, that is really a spectacular addition to the curriculum because it really helps the kids get out and socialize when they go to the bar mitzvahs, the sweet 16s. I mean, some of you haven't seen it yet, but you can always tell the Montville kids because they're the ones up having a great time while all the other kids are off to the side. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Modrak.
Mr. Fleischman, despite your successes and the fact that for the 9th year in a row we're best community for music education, you nevertheless wanted to make us better by conducting this survey at risk to you. So I commend you for that effort in really feeling the passion to continue to improve our programming.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We always want to strive to be better.
Of course, I want to echo the appreciation we have for the amazing program we have, the amazing staff, and how you lead it. It really is something that we're all very proud of. And thank you to you and the committee for doing this. I'd be interested, because I think you had a lot of interesting recommendations, and as David said, it has to, when we're talking finances, I'd be interested in, it was a big list. Have you thought of prioritizing that list amongst the committee, like talking through the committee and really coming up with, if you had a wish list, what you guys would prioritize after you've done this?
Yeah, that's an excellent,
a helpful thing to do.
That's an excellent suggestion. Yeah, I think we've done a little bit, but again, that would require a little further looking at, for sure. And I'm sure there has to be some prioritizing because no one gets whatever they want. So I'm glad I got a smile from Dr. Gorman on that one. Okay. just like to thank the board for listening, and again, I thank my colleagues for being here, and I thank you for your kind comments, and I also want to say I'm very, very proud of our staff here in Montville. They work very hard. For example, Mr. Frummel, who was here tonight, he also happens to be our set construction advisor, and he's building the set for the spring musical. So we have a lot of talented folks here, and I'm grateful they're here. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No, yes, please. So that's exactly a good point that you made. I mean, we have people from all different levels, elementary, middle, and high school, and they all work very closely together. You have great music teachers here. You see them at the concerts. You see them involved in the plays, and this is just confirming that what we knew, and then parents are appreciating. So that's wonderful to see, and we will be talking about how we can improve things in the future. So thank you for that, and thank you to the committee. All right. That's it with that. So now I have 2 reports to go. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's a report night. So just real quick, just an update on our district goals. So district goal number 1 was to continue to implement, enhance, and evaluate ways to address mental health issues as necessary. We did youth mental health first aid training, and that was continued for all our staff. There were 21 participants across all levels and positions. We brought in David D'Amico, who was for a parent program about bias and prejudice. We held a district HIB meeting, which is a harassment, intimidation, and bullying, in January. And we talked about all the anti-bullying programming and things we want to do and best practices with that. We also have been continuing with our child study team members, our counselors, and other staff members to talk about mental health issues throughout the district. Most recently, we just added Gaggle. We put that out to the community last week, and we've been implementing that since just the end of last week, and to try and help us identify students that may be in need. District goal number 2 was to explore and evaluate innovative learning programs for all students. And at the elementary level, we have teachers that are continuing to meet their monthly grade level peers to discuss and implement the Amplify system, which is our English language arts curricular program at the elementary level. We have outside consultants meeting with our special education teachers about the Amplify program to really work with them to have this implemented well. We have elementary students that are completing their second benchmark of assessment for Amplify. So that information is coming in, and now the administrators will be looking at that. We have administrators and supervisors meeting with the assistant superintendent to discuss and improve our schedule for next year, and many more things going on with our curriculum at those levels. The 3rd district goal will continue to evaluate the safety and security protocols of the district. So again, Gaggle was one of them, because we do identify students that could be self-harming by looking up certain websites, and that those websites get red flagged, and then we're able to intervene when appropriate. We have monthly meetings that occur with the police to discuss security for the district, and we are going to be voting on a new SLEO, which is a special law enforcement officer, tonight for the elementary levels. So if that approves, we'll have one individual who's a retired police officer, and he'll be going back and forth between the 5 schools. And we're constantly working on cybersecurity. Our technology department is doing a great job with that and constantly fighting all the different people that are trying to infiltrate our systems. The last district goal is to look at our construction projects and our long-range facility program. And we'll be talking about that tonight a little bit. And that's part of our long-range facility plan. We'll be talking about that during our budget process. But just some highlights: we're upgrading the electrical fire system here at the high school. The security vestibule at Valley View was installed. And we're upgrading some of our unit ventilators at Lazar Middle School, just to hit some of the highlights. So a lot of progress in 1 quarter right there. And that's my report for that. Any questions on the goals or anything?
Okay, your next report?
All right. So you're going to have to slide over.
I'm gonna get out of here.
I'll do what Ed just did. All right, so this is just to give you a quick update of where we are with our capital improvements and the enrollment projections. So Ed, what happened to the?
Well, sir, when it comes to this report, now you.
She's running because we're talking about capital reserves. All right, so capital reserves, real quick. That's the money that's been put. It's like a bank account. So all the money that was, at the end of the year that was, say, left over, goes into the capital reserves, and we can only do this for certain projects. So it can't go to salaries, it can't go to medical expenses and things like that. It can only go to the facilities, buildings, and other things that we have to do. So just looking at some of the stuff that we started to do this year and completed, roof replacements in the high school, HVAC at Lazar, Cedar Hill, we did the new parking lot and the landscaping there, and the security vestibule at Valley View. And you can see the items that are there in the first column. The first column shows that these items were not in the referendum, so you had about $2.2 million not in the referendum that came out of the capital reserves. But there was also the HVAC, which is the air conditioning, ventilation, and heating units that was originally in the referendum that would have received some more money from the state to help offset some of those costs. So far this year, we're about $4.7 million in trying to upgrade and keep our facilities current. Now in 2025, right now going into the summer, so some of these projects are underway and will be completed hopefully by the end of the summer. But again, as I just mentioned, the high school with the electrical fire systems, at the elementary and Lazar, we have replacements of doors and hardware. Hilldale has a facade that we're going to try and work on. That was the one school that was not redone over the past couple of years and received a facelift. We have landscaping at Woodmont and Hilldale, security vestibules going on at the high school, Woodmont and William Mason. That'll be occurring this summer. We're looking at a canopy to help the kids that are in the rain to protect them from the inclement weather at William Mason. 2 boilers need to be replaced at the high school. The removal of asbestos in the security vestibule at Woodmont, and HVAC for half of the building at Hilldale. Again, you look down the columns, you can see the totals of the items that were not in the referendum, and then the items that were originally in the referendum a little over a year ago. So that total that we're going to be spending this year is about another $5.7 million. Moving ahead, and it gets a little bit grayer as we move forward into the future, but this is what we have planned for right now. So in 2026, we're looking at the HVAC in the high school, also some portions of Cedar Hill, Valley View, and then when you're looking at the 7th grade wing, HVAC at Lazar, and then also at the other elementary schools. All those items were in the referendum, and you can look at that. That's $3.7 million that we're looking to spend in 2 years. Same thing looking at 2027. We're looking at another $1 million for HVAC at William Mason and trying to replace some of the ceiling tiles here at the high school. That'll be another $1.1 million as we move forward. Getting a little further out, again, HVAC, big items that we have to be looking at. So looking at Lazar again, so obviously we've been doing this in 3 phases. That's another $1.5 million. And then moving into 2029, which dovetails nicely with what Mr. Fleischman was just talking about, is the auditorium renovations. Unfortunately, we're not able to address them in the past 2 years, so this is getting put off for a few more years because now HVAC is a little bit more the priority. But you're looking at almost $4 million there for the auditorium renovations. It is the premier place for all our plays, concerts, and everything. The middle school, high school come up there, and it's used in many other occasions for all our district needs. The other area that we tap into is our maintenance. Maintenance is also another reserve bank account that we have, and similar to the capital reserves, you can only use this money for certain things. So, for instance, at the elementary schools, seam and coating the roofs, that was part of the ROD grants. We have at the Valley View, Cedar Hill, and the middle school and the high school, interior painting. That's an ongoing project that we started this year. Valley View parking lot extension, we did that this year. These items were not in the referendum. That's $2.6 million coming out of just that reserve plan. And then moving forward, we want to continue the painting. Painting is badly needed at many of the schools, and it's just something that we have to address. This just gives you a quick overview of the capital reserves. So right now in 2025, we have $8.2 million in capital reserves. And based on the expenditures I just told you about, if everything goes as according to plan, we'll have about $2.5 million left. And now each year we continue to contribute to it. We try to put more money into it and try to keep that going. But as you can see, we're really spending a lot of this money in larger chunks than we can replenish it. Going down in the maintenance reserves, you have $2.2 million right now, and then that'll come down to just $500,000. But notice the asterisk. The asterisk is what's most concerning right there. And that if you start going below those numbers, 2.5 for capital reserves and under $500,000, that could impact our bond rating. So that's something to be cognizant of. You don't want to go down to zero because then we could get hurt in the future with our bonds. So you want to stay with that amount in the reserves so that we're still healthy, but we're still trying to get these projects done. So it's something we have to keep an eye on as we move forward, but you see how quickly several $1 million goes over a couple of years. And I'm going to pause right there because that's just the financial aspect, and I'll open that up to questions to Katine and then maybe me. Microphones, please.
What happens is that below a certain threshold, thank you, are essentially what they're looking at is how large is our operation and how much money have we put away in savings. So right now we have about 10% put aside as savings. That number is healthy, and as that number begins to drop down to 7%, 5%, in this case 3%, that's when we start to get into the range of them looking at us and saying, from the perspective of S&P supporting a certain bond rating on us, they do not feel comfortable at those reserve levels to feel that we have enough savings for the rainy day, so to speak, to warrant the rating that we've gotten. Now, we actually had this happen to us when we went out for referendum in 17. We got through. I want to say maybe 2019, somewhere in that range. It definitely was before COVID. We had S&P come out and say that your reserve levels are considered to be low and that we would be looking at lowering your bond rating unless you can show that you're going to start building them up. And for finance and facilities, you may remember Renee and I coming to you and saying we're going to start implementing this plan where we're going to start building up and intentionally putting money towards the reserves in order to prevent that potential reduction in our rating.
Thank you. So it seems like it's a combination then of the dollar amount in there and the percentage.
And how big we are at the time, yes.
Karen?
And the numbers may seem big to perhaps folks that don't see these numbers all the time, but we have 7 buildings to maintain, 5 elementary schools, a middle school, and the high school, which is our flagship school. And so, you know, it just like your house, it takes funds to maintain them in good working order and beyond. We all want to be proud of our facilities, and I think we have a right now to be proud of those facilities.
That's a good point. I mean, every single day you have over 4,000 people coming and going through our buildings, and then on the weekends. So they take a lot of abuse, and our buildings are over 50 years old. So it's you gotta show them a little love. Yeah.
And I mean, in terms of the HVAC systems alone, most of those univentilators, particularly in the elementary levels, those are original to the building. You're talking about univentilators that have seen 50 years worth of students come and go. It's impressive that those units are even still functioning. And that was part of those HVAC notations that you saw going through capital reserve and us not really being able to wait any longer to replace them. So we've been doing it slowly as much as we can do every single year.
And just, I'm sorry, one more comment, and that is the asterisk, which could impact our bond rating, is completely under our control at this point because that was projected out to the year 2029. So I don't see us risking a bond rating, especially with the acumen of our business department. They're not going to let that happen.
Correct. We would stop spending before we got there.
Correct. And that's the whole thing, is trying to find that balance between how much work can you do on the HVACs and the other needs of the district, not spend it all the way down till you get into this trouble. But on the other hand, how else are you going to start, taking care of our facilities?
And so, not that I didn't hear what Mr. Fleischman said in terms of the need for us to improve our facilities related to the auditorium. The problem is that we get into a situation where we have to weigh things and decide what's the most important thing right now that needs repair and needs to be addressed. And there's been a strong feeling that we need to look at the security vestibules, that's an important thing in terms of safety and security first. And as I said, with the HVAC systems on the verge of failing, those came first. So the idea of the intentionality of just keep it on the list, we'll keep moving towards that goal is sort of the way we've been doing it up through this process.
Michelle. So, I mean, I know we say it a lot, but thank you to Katine in the business office, because it's obvious the work that you've done that's enabled us to be where we are as a district, financially all these years. And for all the years I've been on the board, I've had the utmost confidence in that and have been impressed how you truly have balanced it all, and we're able to, build up our reserves and use them, I think, in a wise way. I think presentations like this are very important for the community because, we all know what happened with the last referendum, and there was, obviously concerns about enrollment that prompted it and looking for additional class space, but there was also the desire to maintain our facilities to a manner that I think that we all would agree at least basic level that our district deserves, our community would want. So I think that continually doing presentations like this and showing, the impacts of those reserves really going down. We're going to be at a point where we can't do the things we want to do. When is that? These projects, as we know, take lead time and contracts and planning and years. So we need to have the foresight to understand these long-term applications and for the community to understand. And what is the point where we're going to need to think of other alternatives. So I appreciate you doing this at this level, and I think this conversation on a continual basis for the board and for the community is very important.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. And
No, that's part one.
Oh man,
sorry. And just going forward, I'm sorry, this last slide, just moving forward, and this is way into the future, but just talking about some of the things we just talked about, 2030, we're looking at, some of the ideas we wanted to do was a softball dugout in the turf field, HVAC for, again, Cedar Hill, replacement of exterior windows and repair to William Mason. That alone, these are just like, wish list items that we've talked about, but that's $9 million right now. And then other items we're looking at as future projects, and mostly at the middle school. The construction of the auditorium is about $7 million. Transportation turnabout parking lot, which means you could go around Lazar with transportation, and then maybe turn the parking lot of where the teachers are right now into a half-field athletic program, and then put more parking in the back of the school. You can see with those prices, $7 million, 4.2, and 5.5. So we haven't forgotten about those projects, but they're not in our, purview right now with what's going on.
real quick though, the exterior windows in the elementaries, why are they on that list?
Because they're 50 years old.
Are they cracked?
No, but they aren't very energy efficient.
They're not energy
And they're
efficient.
beginning to see the wear.
Aren't there opportunities for some kind of grants for
And
energy
certainly
efficiency
that would be one of the
grants?
things that we would look into. As I said, we're doing a hierarchy, and of the hierarchy, that's not the highest on the list, but we do know that the windows and doors are going to eventually need to be replaced. And
And-
yes, certainly we would then seek things like ESIPs. We've already done 2 ESIPs. We could go and look into an ESIP to do that type of work.
And that's why I put these projects on another slide. It's just, these are still out there. We haven't forgotten about them, but they're ideas to consider in the future.
And probably should also point out that your office actively looks for grants to help out all the time, not
Oh,
just
sure.
once in a while, but not when you have just one project, but you keep
No,
an eye
and,
open all the time.
Dr. Gorman mentioned the ROD grants right in the beginning of the presentation. That what the ROD grants are is they're monies that we received from the state. We applied for it, and there were certain projects that the state was willing to provide funding for. And so what happened was it worked the same way as the referendum would work. We pay 60, they pay 40. So it significantly reduced the cost of the projects because we were getting state money for those projects.
That just piggybacks on the fiscal responsibility, looking for ways to save money while getting, the most done that we can. Yeah, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Wait. On that, I was going to save this question, but since we're kind of talking about it, I mean, the back half of this presentation is on enrollment and, what the future holds. Our referendum last year didn't pass. I think a big reason of it was we combined these two things together, and I think it's important. I think that was a mistake, and I think we should bifurcate them. And if there's 40% dollars out there, if we go out for referendum just for these capital improvements, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
One of the big differences in terms of funding is that when it's a renovation to an existing building, we can grab 40% of the cost from the state. When it's a new construction, and if for those who were here for that conversation, when it was a new construction, we weren't able to grab that. Then it's a dollar amount per square foot, and that dollar amount is significantly lower than what you can actually build that square foot of space for.
All right, enrollment. So just to give you, as we just said, we'll be looking at the 5-year long-range facilities plans and continue the discussions with the board. So the current enrollment right now is where we're at. So you can see for each of the schools, the enrollment numbers right there. And the number on the right-hand side is the overcapacity. So the overcapacity of each school based on the formulas that the architect works with the state numbers of where we should be. So currently we're over capacity in all the schools except for Lazar, but with the bubble of the students coming in, you're going to see us over capacity at Lazar come next fall. So that just gives you a little snapshot of where we are today. This is the slide that just gets into a little bit more detail of everything. I put it in colors for green being the 2 projects that have been built. So Mill Creek and Avalon Bay. We don't have the exact numbers. The last time we got some numbers, they were about 2/3 full. I'm guessing they're going to be a little bit higher right now. You can see how many units are in each one. So if you go down to the bottom there, you see that 44 students out of the predicted 52 from the demographer have already enrolled in our school. And then 8 of the 25 and 6 of the 26 and so forth. For Avalon, you can see the same numbers. 34 students have enrolled at Woodmont out of the 58 that the demographer predicted, and so on. So looking down at the bottom with the asterisk, you'll see that of the predicted numbers of the statistical forecasting, which is a demographer, he predicted that 214 students would be coming out of those 2 developments in the green. And so far, we've seen 109. So he's about 51% of what he was predicting. And we know that the units still are not 100% full. The developers, on the other hand, predicted that only 106 kids would come out of those units, and we're already at 109 students. So we're already over what the developers predicted. So we've, so you make them what you can of that. Juve is the other in the yellow. That's right by Seabreeze. Those students will primarily be going to Cedar Hill. The walls are up on those units, and I'm expecting just by the pace of seeing what the other units did, you might be able to see some students enrolling this fall. So that's moving pretty quickly right now. And then the red is nothing's been going on with the Sterling, which is the Harrigan's property right now. So that, and then you have to the right the growth increase. That's with the number of people. So if grandparents move out, that's 2 people moving out, but a family of 5 move in, you have an increase of 3. You have some new building going on. So that's the growth increase that was predicted by the demographer. And just seeing where the projections are going in 27, 28, and then where we're going to be with overcapacity in the different schools. So that's where we're at right now in the snapshot. And every day we're getting more students coming in from the 2 green developments. So with that said, what have we been doing? We removed all the classes that were in the hallways. We should not have had them there. We put them back into the classrooms. We consolidated pre-K, pre-kindergarten at Valley View. We moved some special ed programs to Valley View and Cedar Hill, and that bought us some space at William Mason, so we were able to alleviate some of the crunch there. That's still only going to be, temporary. Updating the long-range facility plan, and we've been increasing the class sizes everywhere as these kids come in. And some of the board members, you've seen the emails that we've been getting of some people that have been noticing the rise in the class sizes. But that's all that we've predicted along the way. So that's it for that, and I'll just leave it open for discussion.
Okay. Anyone have any? Mike?
Clarification question on the 2 greens. Yes. You said it's like Woodmont. Is 44 kids have currently enrolled?
Correct.
From there, and the 52, is that what
the demographer predicted was going to come in?
Predicted for 65%? Is that already?
100%.
That's for 100%.
Yeah. So he's predicting we're going to get 8 more students coming to Woodmont from Mill Creek.
Right, but if we have 44 out of 2/3, so it likely we're going to go over what he predicted, if the statistics hold true.
Right. The problem is we don't have the direct numbers from those developments. I don't know what's filled already or what's not and what's available.
I mean, like the 3 bedrooms versus 1 bedroom?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's still a little bit of an art.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, it's just, again, at Woodmont, we had, I guess, 366 now, 27, 28, also 366, but the growth increase is negative 54. So, I mean, how do those numbers work?
Right. So you have in the growth increase. So, right. So we have more kids moving in from the developments, and you had a decline. So, how'd that work exactly? So you have more kids moving in. So that's what, 40. So you're going to have over 100 and something, and you have some other people that are moving out. But it's going to be a negative 54 at the end of the day when you take a look at everything. So like the 54, you have all these. There's not going to be a lot of movement in Woodmont.
Right. There's not a lot of turnover.
It's all in the development, not in the actual housing units. If that makes sense.
Woodmont doesn't have a lot of, it's an area where it's not turning over. So the problem is that you're graduating larger classes without, assume that we had no construction. You would be graduating larger classes going up to Lazar than you're bringing in as kindergartners. And you're not seeing the type of turnover. Like, for example, in William Mason, you're seeing a lot of older couples who are selling their home to younger families. That kind of turnover is not seen at the same rate in the Woodmont area per the statistical forecasting. And so as a result, that because you're not refilling from houses turning over, the classes that are graduating are bigger than the classes coming in.
So I guess what you're kind of saying is that we're getting more kids from the apartments, but that neutralized by the fact that we're getting fewer kids from the houses?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And for whatever reason, they just aren't turning over in that area.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm going to caution on that, as you do that, you're going to increase the percentage of kids who are from the units where there doesn't tend to be a lot of stability with regard to long-term housing there. And you're going to go back to having this very high student mobility thing in Woodmont, which I think is not a good thing. And I've said all along, I don't think it's fair that one school's bearing the brunt of all the student mobility when I came on the board, Woodmont had a 28% mobility rate. I don't want to see it go back to that.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, business minister's report. Anything else you want to add?
No report.
No report. Okay. Let's move on to committees and liaisons. Finance, Karen?
We had a meeting just prior to this meeting and began the budget process, even though it felt like we just finished the budget process.
Yeah, it's always.
We started it again. That's basically what we did.
Okay, thank you. Curriculum, Michelle.
I'm working with Ms. Woodring to set up a meeting. I'll be reaching out to the committee.
Okay, John, policy.
We met last week, February 11th. We discussed 10 policy changes from our third-party company, Strauss May's recommendations, most of which were fairly standard, just changing policies in accordance with law changes. Many, about half of them were due to the memorandum between education and law enforcement officials. The two big to note items, one was changing our tuition costs for people who move in mid-year. We were traditionally able to just waive that tuition, but now the law seemingly changes that they require a tuition, and Tom and Casey are going to the Morris County Board to see what the county will accept as a reasonable tuition rate. If for example, if we wanted to make our policy charge them $1, would the county accept that? They could reject that potentially.
Yeah, we have that meeting tomorrow.
And then the other one was cell phone use, which we had an ample discussion. Principal Doug Stanford commented. We had a nice discussion, and I'm actually going to open that up in the new business tonight for the board's general discussion.
Yeah, we'll hold off until then. Okay, Joe, communications. We have one coming up.
Yep, we have a meeting next Wednesday to go over a couple items.
Okay, and I know we have a safety committee coming up next week, if I'm not mistaken. Tomorrow? It's tomorrow? Yeah, right. Sorry, communications is next week. Safety is tomorrow. Okay, delegate liaison, New Jersey School Board. Karen.
It's a lengthy report. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks since our last meeting, so I'm going to hold off till our next meeting.
Okay. Mike Rappaport, Morris County School Boards.
Yes, we met February 5th. Karen, Christine, and Joe from the board also joined the meeting. I'm glad Mr. Fleshman is still here. Yes, he just perked up. They opened the meeting with music, with pre-recorded music from the Copeland Middle School, a little jazz and a little woodwind, and I thought that was very good because we can't always have the students here live in person, but if at all possible, if it works out, to pre-record a little music from one of the schools, and we can play it in the beginning of our meetings to open it up. I really like that, and I thought that was a great idea. They are, the MCSBA is looking for a new slate of board of directors. There's 14 open positions. If anyone's interested, the applications are due March 1st. They also introduced a Pathful program it's a K-12 program that they're helping to it's to introduce kids to work and help kids with the transition to a work environment. So what they do is they help find local executives who are willing to come in and talk to the kids or talk by Zoom or otherwise interact with a classroom. And since they're working from K through 12, will be age appropriate depending on the grade level, and to have meaningful conversations of what it's like to be in a work environment as opposed to a classroom type environment, to help them understand a bit more about what it's like to work versus being in a classroom. And a lot of people said it was a very nice thing, as some of the other board members who've worked with the program. And it's a very nice thing, if possible, to take a look at if it's something useful or valuable for our district as well. Then Charlene Peterson spoke, and she said she's retiring May 1st. So we'll have a new rep May 2nd. The big update, besides retiring, is that board goals will now be part of the evaluation process every year. It's going to be part of the electronic evaluation process like we do the district goals and the superintendent's evaluation. Board goals will now be available electronically, so we can update it and keep track of it, just like we do the district goals. They also talked a lot about how to get board members more comfortable, especially when they just start in January. And Charlene was saying that it takes like 2 years for a board member to really get comfortable, and that's most of the first term. So what can the school boards do to help board members get more comfortable faster, so they can be more productive faster? And they're looking at various different programs and educational things and presentations, whatever else may be, to help overcome that gap and shorten that cycle of getting someone up to speed who's brand new to a board of education.
All you have to do is go to the website and you'll find that programming. In fact, this weekend there's going to be the second weekend training for new school board members, and you don't have to be a new school board member to attend. And that's a very intensive class. But there are also programs, there are podcasts, there's online. So I'd be happy to help anyone that would be interested.
All right. And then they finished it with 2 breakout rooms about how governance can help school board members, and committee structures, how committee structure contributes to board culture. And so they had small room discussions on those topics. And that was the meeting. Oh, and Karen gave her update from New Jersey school boards to Morris County as well. Can't forget that.
Which you won't repeat right now.
I'm not gonna.
Thank you.
It's going to be what she gives next week.
I'm a little concerned about getting kids in K and first and second grade used to the work environment. I thought we got away from that small child employment issue we used to have here. But
as I said, age appropriate, grade level appropriate level stuff.
Joe, why don't we go to you with Morris County Educational Services?
So we met last Wednesday. Currently, they're undergoing their annual audit, and they're also developing the budget for next year.
What about drug awareness?
They met last Tuesday, and they formed a subcommittee who will be meeting with the administration to discuss a potential pilot program for elementary school students on life skills.
Okay. John, Montville Athletic Boosters, anything?
Nope, first meeting's in April.
April, man, they don't meet much. Okay. Karen, Cedar Hill.
No report.
No
There
report.
has not been a meeting. I think one is coming up in March.
Okay. Hilldale, Christine's not here. Caitlin, Valley View.
No report.
Okay. John, William Mason.
No report.
Mike Palma, Woodmont.
I'm told there's going to be a meeting in March at a date to be decided in the near future.
Okay. Michelle, Lazar.
March 13th is the next meeting.
March 13. Okay. Mike Rappaport, High School.
No report.
Okay. I'd like to now open it up to the public for any comments about items on the agenda. If you want to make any comments about items on the agenda, please come forward to the microphone. Seeing none, we'll just move on to motion for a consent resolution for items I through N.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Questions on the minutes? Okay, what about questions on Section J?
I would just like to thank administration for adding to this agenda recognition of that January is New Jersey School Board's Recognition Month.
Was. Oh, you want me to read that? Real quick? Okay.
We rehearsed this.
We did? I forgot about that. Okay, so let me go ahead and read that one. Whereas the New Jersey School Board, what? Sorry, what?
No, John. No.
Okay, whereas the New Jersey State Board of Education has established rigorous standards through its promulgation, whatever, of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, which set the expectations of academic achievement for nearly 1.4 million public school children, and whereas New Jersey's locally elected and appointed boards of education play a vital role in ensuring that their local school districts meet the state standards and adhere to state and federal education statute and regulations with the goal of preparing all students for college and the workplace, thereby enabling them to compete in a global economy. And whereas New Jersey's 5,000 nonpartisan local board of education members and charter school trustees are public servants who dedicate their time without pay or benefit to the oversight of school district operations through sound financial practices and comprehensive policies on curriculum, staffing, and other areas to ensure the well-being and academic achievement of all students in their district. And whereas local boards of education, in conjunction with state education officials and local educators, have built a foundation of success that has led to New Jersey's status as a leader in student achievement, as evidenced by the National Assessment of Education Progress Scores. And whereas the New Jersey School Board Association has declared January 2025 to be School Board Recognition Month, now, therefore, let it be resolved that the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Acting Commissioner of Education recognize the contributions of our state's local boards of education to the academic success of its public school students and express its sincere and appreciation to local Board of Education members for their continued focus on the achievement of children throughout New Jersey. And further, be it resolved that the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Acting Commissioner of Education encourage qualified New Jersey citizens to consider serving as members of their local school boards. Thank you. Okay, any other comments on Section J? Okay. Section K, Facilities Finance, any questions?
Just K7, I just want to point out that's what we were talking about, the officer, the retired officer, the SLEO, that will be for the elementary schools.
And when does that
If you
start?
approve him tonight, he'll start tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Okay, personnel, you have something?
Yes, we have a retirement. We have Sherilyn Teresi. She's a 25-year veteran at Montville Public Township Schools, and she serves as a 5th grade special education inclusion teacher at the Woodmont Elementary Schools. She was instrumental in bringing mindfulness practices into the building and responsible for the creation of meditation and mindfulness rooms for the faculty and students. This talented educator taught multiple grades over her career and will be remembered for her warmth and commitment to the staff mental health. We wish her well in retirement.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. And Section M, Curriculum, any questions, comments? Policy, we have no actions here. Okay. Section O, the vote, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Zuckerman?
Yes.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Cordolino?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosino?
Yes.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Abstain section I, yes to everything else.
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes.
Dr. Modrak?
Yes. Okay, no closed session announcement. We'll now move on to old business, general board comments, and new business. John, you wanted to talk about cell phones, so we'll start with you. If you want to just give us a run through real quick about summary of the discussion.
A couple key points, I guess, that Doug made that I'll share with everyone. That one, Tom and Casey went through the school and they reported that during the lunch periods, there wasn't that much cell phone use, or as much as they would expect at least, and that Doug was fearful that if we took cell phone use away completely, kids that, maybe were not as socially involved with others, the loner types, needed that cell phone as comfort during that period. I thought that was an interesting comment to make. I personally was, wanted to be more restrictive on our policy and was considering the idea of complete banning of cell phones, check them at the door. Based on some of the other comments, the amount of cell phone usage that teachers, use cell phones in the room, made me reconsider that position. And, at this point, I would like to see, cell phones be mandated to be checked in the door. And then if a teacher wants to allow a classroom to allow their cell phone use, the teacher can allow it, but the default policy be, check it in at the classroom, but students be allowed to bring them and use them on the premises otherwise. That would just be my position, and I'd like to open it up for a discussion.
Can I?
Just I'll go next, but I tend to be someone who believes that yes, we should limit the use of cell phones in the schools. If a teacher, again, wants it, thinks that it would be useful for the class, okay, but I do agree that I believe, like John, that the default policy should be check them at the door, keep them off as much as possible, but that's the way I feel. You want to go, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think there's a lot more than people want to acknowledge of kids just texting each other during class and not paying attention to the teacher. What I'd really like to know is has the administration given any thought to surveying the teachers? I'm just curious to know what the teachers think about this. If you ask the teacher, just confidentially, between me and you, what's going on with the phones, whether the teacher would say, yeah, I know half the kids in the class are texting during class, or no, I don't think that's the case. I mean, the teachers know what's going on probably better than any of us or even maybe the administration. Why don't we ask the teachers what they think?
Okay. Any other comments?
I am
Karen?
not opposed to having the pocket-style cubby for cell phone in the classroom, and of course the teacher has the discretion whether she wants the students to use the cell phone or not. It's interesting to me that, or I feel better knowing that students are not using their cell phones as much as we may have thought during their lunch, because I was thinking that that would be the prime time for them to be using their cell phones as opposed to socializing with each other, talking to each other. Instead they're on their phones. That's my experience with my own children. Yeah. When you try and go out to dinner. So I agree with my colleagues. I think, frankly, I think our policy is pretty good. I was wondering if there was some way to create a cell phone-free zone during lunch. In other words, a place where kids can go who want to be with each other and no cell phones in that lunch period. Because I think that's where kids are most vulnerable during lunch, not necessarily texting each other during class.
Well, I'm not so sure that you really even need that. I mean,
I
if
don't
they
know.
want to put their phone away, there's no policy that says they
Right.
have to have their phone out.
Right, but this would be a location where, are you talking about
Well,
the
if you-
lunch period
Yeah,
or the
if you're
classroom?
saying a cell phone free area,
Yeah,
they can always just put it away anytime they want.
but are you missing the point? The point would be, this would be it's like, no smoking area. This would be a designated area where cell phones are not to be used because they're choosing to be in that space.
Well, I don't know. I was always struck by they're not using it as much as we would have expected, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm not sure how you can measure that.
Well, I think also and I hate to cut in, but it was offered to the board to do some other walkthroughs and some surveys and additional research. So I that's on the table, and I think a lot of us would take advantage of that, you know.
Okay. Caitlin?
I have a few thoughts on it. I worry that if we lock up phones all day and the only time they have access to their phones is during lunch, then you're going to see a 180 on that, and lunch is going to become everybody's heads in their phones because that's their only opportunity to go on it. Not that I'm saying they should be able to scroll and do whatever they want on their phones during their classes, but I also think high school kids have a different relationship with their phones than any of us probably do because we didn't grow up with these and they essentially have. So it's not as foreign to them to have their phones with them and to use them for various purposes. I would be interested to have a survey directly from the teachers to see how disruptive they think the phones are in class, how useful they think they are, and if they would prefer it coming from a board policy as opposed to, I happen to agree with Karen, I think our policy is fine. I think it becomes more of a classroom management / building specific policy rather than a general board policy because I do think there's so many different levels of phone usage that could be acceptable in different areas and in different classes. So I think it's hard to make a general policy of banning or not banning or locking up. And I know some teachers probably feel like, well, if it's not all for one, one for all, then I don't want to be the mean teacher that says you have to lock it up. But I think that's where a building level tier of rules would come into place instead of like a steadfast general policy.
You mean like Lazar has their policy, which is pretty strict.
Yeah, like,
whereas the high school does
and that's
not.
the other thing too. We go from very strict cell phone policy, dress code policy at Lazar to free for all, essentially at the high school with in regards to those two things. So maybe there needs to be a way to bridge that gap. But I do think, and I mentioned this in our meeting, that I think these kids having their cell phones in high school is a fact of their life, and it's something that when you are in the workplace, you have your cell phone on you constantly. When you're in meetings, you have your cell phone on you constantly, and it's almost a way that they need to learn how to be responsible with it and to have it there and not be a distraction. And also I was saying that if you lock up the cell phones, if they're bringing in their own MacBooks, they're texting on that anyway. So locking up isn't going to eliminate everything that you think it's going to. It's not going to get rid of it. And again, I know if they're on our Wi-Fi, then certain websites will be blocked on their computers if they're bringing in their home devices, but they're savvy. If their cell phone is locked in a cubby in their door, they can log into their phone as a hotspot and they can go on whatever websites they want. So they're not going to be stopped by our district Wi-Fi controls if that's what they think of to do. So I just think locking up and banning isn't necessarily going to solve any of the problems that people are concerned about in regards to cell phone use during classes. I think a better approach is to give them life skills in using it and focusing on work and being able to get it done.
Sort of like junk food. They're exposed
Moderation.
to junk food,
Yeah.
and you have to teach them. So that's sort of like cell phones are like a junk food kind
Yeah,
of thing.
I think
and you
it,
have
in
to
anything in life, when you set very strict restrictions, it makes you want to binge on it when you have it. And
Well,
it's a learning process.
As long as they're not binging when they're supposed to be paying attention to the teachers.
Right.
But also, were you here for, who was the woman who came by, forget her name, spoke to us about cell phones? Yeah, the parent. Yeah, she's in town. But she presents presents a very compelling case for at least limiting the use of cell phones beyond what it is now. So we should probably think about that. Yeah, Mike.
I think it would help if we kind of reframe the question a little bit, because there's lots of different opinions about how cell phones should be locked up or used or whatever. So if you dig down to what is the the underlying, really the underlying question. And the underlying question is not, should the kids have cell phones or not? The underlying questions are, is it disturbing to the class? So, okay, if one child has a cell phone, is it disturbing to the child nearby, and that child can't learn? That's a question we need to figure out. Also, are the cell phones contributing a significant percentage to bullying or HIB or those types of
Mental health.
negative behavioral aspects? And the third thing I was thinking of is just learning outcome for the student who has the cell phone. If you have the cell phone in your hand, most likely your learning outcome is going to be a little lower than if the cell phone is put away. So I think those are the questions we need to answer, where we want to improve, or where in our district or what grade level these three issues are a problem, and then we can address it sort of from that perspective, because that might help us answer the cell phone should get locked up or not get locked up for a particular classroom or not, if those three things get impacted.
Other questions, comments? Yeah, Joe?
Have we also considered the impact that parents might have as well? If we tell them that we're making a policy that we're going to be limiting cell phone use, especially at the high school, how they want to be always in contact with their kids in the event of emergency or whatnot. So maybe we might want to consider putting that out there, like we're going to possibly look at a policy or recommendation just to get feedback from the parents.
Do you remember when you were in school? I think when you were in school, they didn't have cell phones, right?
They had cell phones.
They had cell phones when you were in school?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe not when you were in school.
Not when I was in school.
You had pay phones, those
we
things
had
that were
something
on the
called
wall.
a telephone that we had to actually go down to the nurse's office and call home if there was an emergency. There are ways to get a hold of your parents, even without a cell phone. So, I mean,
Email being one of them.
Yeah, email.
But you need your phone.
No, not your computer.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to clarify a couple things. One, the what I was suggesting was to not check them at the door of the high school when you walk in, was to check them at each classroom and give the teacher that autonomy. But having a policy, and then another comment that was made was that it would be tough for teachers don't want to police it because they want to be the good guy, the guy that relates to the student. And if we made a policy that took that good guy away from them, it would make us the bad guy and allow the teachers to, not have a say in that matter. That was just something that was discussed as well.
Yeah, the default being you check the cell phones, and if the teacher says take them out for a specific purpose, then then the student takes them out for that purpose. So they're not locked away. The student still has access to them if they need them, but it's up to the teacher to affirm that they need the cell phones in order to use it.
Couple quick things. For many things like this lately, we have done surveys of stakeholders, and I'm kind of hearing that, what do teachers think, what do parents think, what do students think? I mean, obviously, what do we think, what does administration think? So it might be worth, similar to the exam, questions that we might want to thoughtfully design some type of feedback and see where our community really feels. I was debating even saying this, but I don't know. I guess it wouldn't be even an equity issue, because I hear, they use them in the classroom. We issue every student a Chromebook, so we know that every student has a device.
Mm-hmm.
But conceivably, not every student has a cell phone. I would think that we'd want to rely, if they're using technology, on what we have some control over and what we've issued and know every student equitably has. So I don't know why we would need to think that they're pulling that out educationally when it's not something that we know is equitable, know that they have the control over. So but I'm not saying we should not have them necessarily. I'm not sure actually where I fall on all this, because I see arguments on all sides. And so I think more information and more feedback would be helpful.
If we do have surveys, though, I would recommend that we also not just get the student and parent and teacher perspective, but also scientific data that delves into the relationship of the student to their phone and their mental health and their productivity and their learning abilities. Some of those studies are more objective and might be more informative.
One of the things I thought was interesting that Mr. Sanford said on the call was there are classes where either in an art class or in a class where there's independent work time, teachers will allow kids to put their headphones on and listen to a music playlist from their phones. So whereas I think at one point kids were using it to research or whatever, which I think you're right, now they obviously have the computers, they can do it that way. I think one of the other uses is having music to listen to during their independent time. He said a lot of kids enjoy that and rely on it, especially in like the arts classes.
Well, again, I think that's getting back to it. That's an affirmative position of the teacher. The teacher says you can take it out for this purpose, otherwise the default would be back.
Yes, I do think teacher classroom management is a huge part of it, and you know, engaging the students to the point where they don't want to use their phones as a distraction comes into play.
And policies, as we've talked about other things, some policies are there to provide guardrails, to provide guidance for the staff as well as the students, and sometimes that's beneficial. Does anyone else have any other comments?
Just one final thought, and you know, maybe because I don't have teenagers, I'm missing the point here, but my understanding was that the use of cell phones during the school day inhibits face-to-face socialization, and you know, that kids who are marginalized are catching the brunt on their cell phones and on social media. So I thought it was really to limit exposure to social media, even though I know that's impossible, but and for the students to engage more in face-to-face conversation. You know.
Okay, so then, Tom, what do you want to do?
So what I'm hearing what the board would like me to do is, so I'll talk to Mr. Sanford and we'll look into this. We'll look into some surveys. I'll probably organize some field trips for you to come and see what's going on at lunch. And, you know, we can even visit some other schools if you want to. I have some research articles. If anybody else comes across some articles, we'll start sharing them amongst ourselves and we'll continue to look at this.
Yeah, I was going to say not only the high school, but also Lazar, and now that elementary school kids are getting cell phones at an early age. I mean, I see kids standing on the bus stop and they're third grade and they're on their phone practicing their little TikTok dances or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, well, they, you know, K through 8, they're not used in school. So would you want me to
have them out then?
Right. So, all right, we'll start talking about this. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you for bringing this up. Okay.
I know when I go into a meeting, if it's of any importance, I take my cell phone, I silence it, and I put it in my bag not to be seen.
Yep. Okay. Does anybody else have any other new business, old business, general board comments?
I did attend the Chinese New Year, the Northern New Jersey Chinese Association Chinese School celebration of Chinese New Year on the 9th, I think it was. The 9th. And as usual, it was a wonderful event. They were very happy to have, you know, a member from the Board of Education. It was rather solemn in the beginning because we honored Margaret Lamb and David Yen, her husband, who just passed away months apart from each other. But it always is a fun event, so I was happy to attend. And I just wanted to point out the recent talk that the school district funded and put on Timothy Shoemaker. He spoke about protecting against predators on social media for our students. And I understand it was successful, not always very well attended, but a successful program anyway. And so I wanted to thank the administration for putting on that program.
Thank you. Any other general board comments? No? Then I would open it up for the second public participation section. Come on up, Scipio. Anyone else that wants to come up can come up as well. Just please use the microphone, tell us your name, address, and what you have to say.
So my name is Scipio Hahn. My address is 57 Jangford Road. First of all, a very special evening. Just like last time, I'd like to congratulate my fellow peers on the Strawberry Stars Award. I'd like to thank Mr. Nadzak especially for his time in crafting the narrative. I'd like to thank all of you for your continued support. I'd also like to thank my mom and dad in the audience who supported me tonight and all these years. So two things I want to talk about generally with just things in general. One thing goes back to something I had mentioned in October regarding the district's multilingual translation of announcements. So recently, my dad got an email about this is a pretty important announcement too. It was about the FAFSA Genesis fill-out reminder. And it was a little bit funny because in the English regular announcement, the greeting was "Hello, seniors." But in the Mandarin version of the announcement received, seniors was translated to like elderly seniors. Kind of a funny thing. But it sort of brought me back to this question. And one thing I wanted to ask was, what is the current way the district is translating these announcements into multiple languages? Like, what is the specific software, if you have that information?
You would have that.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just through the Google Translate. That's the software that we have just uses that to convert everything that we do.
Okay, I see.
It's just general. It's not something that we do ourselves.
Okay. It's like automatic, like through Google Translate.
Correct.
Okay, I see. Okay, makes sense. And then second, just general comments I want to make about, we just had this discussion a couple minutes ago about cell phone policy. I'll just make a couple comments about my perspective of that as a student. I'm a senior now. I've seen a lot of it. When I was in 7th grade, there was the new cell phone policy at Lazar. I remember seeing that come into place. It seemed to be, if I remember, this was in early, I think, 2020. There was basically the new policy that no cell phones allowed during the day, all that stuff like that. It seemed to work maybe for the first couple days, and then granted, COVID sort of just interrupted everything with that. But I feel like with that policy, it was a little bit. It came sort of sudden. I don't want to say without exigence, but it seemed to come a little bit out of place per se. And when it comes to high school, this is mostly where I'm talking from as a high schooler. I think there are a lot of things to consider when it comes to looking at a cell phone policy from the district level, because at the end of the day, I think really from what I've seen, I've had teachers with all sorts of different cell phone policies. Some, for example, in the World Language Department, they collect cell phones. I think a lot of them do at the start of the period in the cell phone caddies in the back of the room. Some, I think, for example, like in some of the science classes, will just say, put it in the bag. You can use it sometimes for certain things. I think while it's important to consider at a district level the implications of cell phones on the development of youth and the development of learning in the classroom, I think ultimately it really goes back to the individual classroom policies and what and how it might impact it at that level. Because what I've found is for some classes, I do want to put it away. For example, during lecture, I don't want to be constantly looking into my cell phone during lecture. I don't want to be constantly looking into my cell phone while I'm doing a lab, doing a titration or whatever. That being said, there are also other classes where I think, for example, some more classes where it's more independent work, where it's more sort of work at your own pace. Sometimes I think for those environments, having the cell phone nearby sometimes is even helpful with doing things like looking things up, planning certain things out in calendars and things like that. And I think a big thing with cell phones is the issue of self-control, because I will have those times where sometimes I have a lot of things going on during the day, and I want to make sure I'm getting in touch with certain things, making sure I'm up to date on emails, so I'll just have it on the side. I'm not going to look at it while I'm listening to lecture. I might just, if I hear the vibration, I'll just look at it for a second and then put it back. I think a lot of it comes down to the idea of self-control and being able to manage a balanced attention span between the main focus, the lecture, and whatever else is going on. Because nowadays, it is important that we remain, I feel like it is important that we remain as connected as we can with everything that's going on in the world, while at the same time being able to remain focused. And with lunchtime, with the idea of lunchtime, from what I've seen, I don't think it's been a big issue from the places I've gone to. I usually hang out a lot in like music wing during the lunchroom, like the orchestra room, band room. I don't think I've seen cell phone usage being a huge impedance on social life. I think it's a really vibrant place, even with cell phones around. We show each other stuff on cell phones all the time. So I think really, when it comes to cell phones, it's really when it comes to policy implementation, I think it really goes back to the classroom level, to the individual learning environment level. So I think that's the main thing I want to say. It's really a matter of, does it fit in this context? Is there a level of self-control that can be implemented? It's really sort of a case-by-case basis is the main thing I think I've discovered over the years.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. We appreciate hearing from a student about that. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, have a good night.
Not everyone is hit.
June.
I changed my tune on lunch.
Sure thing.
Lunchtime.
Oh, wait. Your name, address, please, and the microphone. Is it on?
Hold it closer to you.
Is,
Yeah. If you put it close enough.
Okay, better?
yeah.
June Whitty, 11 Longview Drive, Tawako. So I just had a question on the budget. Did you say that you were at 3% or 10% in the S&D part for your rate bonding?
The S&P bonding, we are currently at 10%. When we had originally been approached back in, I think it was 2019, we were down closer to the 3% mark, and that was when they were concerned. I'm going to assume, not that they gave me a number, that the magic number is somewhere between 3% and 10%. I just don't know what it is. They didn't really tell us.
Okay, and then I just had a comment on the cell phones also, because I think the whole reason that the conversation in schools are adopting cell phone policies was because of the mental health, with the studies that were done, with kids actually being so absorbed by their phones and not being able to communicate or socialize or have a conversation or even spell something completely because of all the abbreviations. So just wanted to make that comment. I've worked in the district, cell phones were a big part of the kids' lives here. I have a position where I don't look at my cell phone or use my cell phone on the job. I'm a nurse. I can't carry it with me and function. So there are jobs out there where you can't have your cell phone. I know when I attend a meeting, I don't have my cell phone because I think it's rude when people are on their cell phone or looking at their cell phone even when you're presenting or speaking. So just want to pass that along, whatever. I think it's best to include the teachers in the decision, since that's going to be a battle that they'll be fighting. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll close out, and I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we're out of here.